Golf Central on YouTube is brought to you by the new elite family of woods and irons from Callaway.
More breaking news today. As part of a continued commitment to address speed of play on the PGA Tour, distance measuring devices will be permitted at 6 events over a 4-week period. The Korn Ferry Tour will test distance measuring devices at 3 consecutive events, beginning with this week's Lacombe Suncoast Classic. The use of distance measuring devices is one of 3 recommendations from the Tour's player-led Speed of Play Working Group, formed in 2025, which aims to positively impact speed of play in response to survey feedback from the Tour's Fan Forward initiative. Players who elect to utilize a distance measuring device must ensure the device measures distance only. All other features such as course mapping, club selection advice, and measuring slope, elevation, and wind must be disabled prior to using the device during competition. The penalty for the first breach of this rule is 2 strokes. A second breach results in disqualification. Earlier today, Gary Young, the Senior Vice President of Rules and Competition for the PGA Tour, joined Golf Today.
The whole point is educating everyone on our pace of play policy that does target the slowest of the slow. We keep data on players every week, every shot that's hit, and we are addressing those slowest players through a fine system. Of course, we don't share that right now at this time with the public, but rest assured that those slowest players are accumulating fines and being addressed. The whole idea is to target the 5% slowest players on tour and to get them to change their behavior. And oftentimes we'll say to them, look, the goal here is not to make you a fast player. We're just trying to make you a more average speed player. And we've had good success having meetings with those slowest players, taking a look at what part of their game is hurting them the most, and trying to come up with a good system to try to see how they can save time in those areas.
Gary, what's the timeline like? And golf fans are wondering, until you're publicizing bad times for players and making the data that you've accrued internally, share it more with the golf world so they have an understanding, okay, who are these guys and what are the metrics in place that they haven't hit?
There's no doubt about it. That was the 3rd item that came out of this working group. Was eventually there was a sentiment that sharing that information, first of all, with their fellow members would probably be a strong deterrent. We just want to make sure that the information and that data, how we present that, we want to try to present that in a very positive manner as well. There's all sorts of statistics that we would like to relate to their performance on the golf course as it relates to speed of play. So we're working on different metrics that we can measure, and more to come on that over the coming months on how we will present that and to what level we'll present that information.
So, Tripp, as a former player, what do you make about what the Tour is trying to do here to better pace of play?
Well, I mean, it's a step in the right direction. They've been stepping in the wrong direction for a long time, thinking that less players in the field is going to speed things up, and that's the way to make pace of play faster. And I don't care if you have 30 players in the field at the Tour Championship. If you've got 5 snails of those 30, you're still going to play in 4 or 4+ hours. It just is the way it is. They're doing the right thing now, finally targeting. And I was on the Player Advisory Council on both tours, the Korn Ferry Tour and the PGA Tour. And we were, as players, for most of the time, we were saying, you got to go after the guys that are slow. It's not necessarily the slow group, it's the slow players. So they are doing that, and hats off to them for finally doing that. And they got one initiative they're doing on the Korn Ferry Tour that's starting in a time period here as well, whereas if you get one bad time, you get a shot. I mean, now that will get players' attention. I can tell you that, because the fines clearly haven't done it, and shots will do it. So that's going to be the ultimate, that along with the public shaming. Those 2 elements is going to really help speed up the pace of play, because it's only, like he said, 5%. Gary was saying only 5% of the tour. That's about right. That's the number when I was playing, and that's been the consistent number for a long time. And I can assure you, most of these guys that are slow don't necessarily want to be slow. It's just in their personality, and they're not really paying attention to what they're doing when getting ready to hit shots. And it sounds like the tour's helping them as well. So good stuff from the PGA Tour, and it's a step in the much needed step in the right direction.
Now, obviously, yeah, you very much in favor of this trip, but I'm curious, what was it about now? What was the boiling point that caused the tour to take this action?
Well, I think just the public. The fan perception of the game has been it takes too long. You have bad optics on television when you're seeing guys stand there for 2.5 minutes before they even pull a club to hit a shot. I mean, that's just not, like baseball adding a shot clock certainly helped. Other sports where there's time limits that you've got to execute a shot within. I mean, that's part of the game. And golf needs that. We have that in written rules, what it's supposed to be, but it's loosely interpreted and been letting get away with for far too long. And I think now it's being reined in, and those players are going to have to perform within those time constraints, just like other sports. So it'll be good for the game. The fans will like it. It will move faster, and that's good for everybody.
When you mentioned that one-shot penalty instead of fines, were you surprised that they were willing to go to that step?
Well, they're doing it on the Korn Ferry Tour, and I think they're going to see the reaction there and see what it does. I was very surprised. But I did check with Rich Pearson, a PGA Tour rules official, because back in the day, they would only time groups. They would not time individual players. And he said, no. We time individual players now. We have the ability to go up and go, you're the problem. You're going to be the one that we're timing. And that is great. So that one-shot penalty is, if you don't perform, if you get a shot clock violation. In TGL, the golf league this year, that was one of the great things that many fans said was that shot clock and getting penalized and maybe give a player one timeout or something like that per round. But that's going to be like other sports, and I think it's going to help the game.
With the soundtrack of the heartbeat underneath it. Now, as mentioned, distance measuring devices will be permitted at 6 events over a 4-week period, beginning at this week's RBC Heritage in Corrales Punta Cana Championship. For more on what the players are saying, let's head back down to Harbortown Golf Links, where we find Todd Lewis.
Well, will these distance measuring devices or range finders impact the speed of play on the PGA Tour? Well, we're going to find out, because the PGA Tour has a testing period with 6 tournaments beginning this week at the Corrales Punta Cana Championship and here at the RBC Heritage on Hilton Head Island. Now, I had a chance to talk to players and caddies about these devices, and they said, yes, it may come in handy when they're off the grid. In other words, in the woods or on another hole. But most players and caddies are going to continue to walk off their yardages, and they are a little skeptical that this is going to have a heavy impact in regards to pace of play.
The pace of play debate is funny. I think, people want to watch exciting golf. I think that's what it's all about. And let's say if we do all these changes and we save 20 minutes off of a round of golf, like is somebody going to sit down on the couch on Sunday and be like, well, I didn't have 5 hours to watch a round of golf, but I got 4 hours and 40 minutes. Like now I'm in. And so I think if we're going to spend a lot of our time and energy, I think where I would want to spend it is I want to get more people involved in the game of golf, more people to be able to come play. It's a great game. It's a great sport. And, you learn a lot of life lessons playing golf. And I think what's most important for me as a player, where I want to spend the most time and energy specifically in the game of golf is just getting people involved. I've met some of my best friends in the whole world playing the game of golf, and it's a really special game that I think more people should want to play.